So here we are once again with the world this week. First of all, thank you very much for your support and all your comments last week. It's things like that that keep us going, don't we? And I'm enjoying doing this for you. I hope we can continue bringing you all that happened this week. It's been quite a week. So in the things that caught my eye, I'm going to talk about Shubman Gill and Smriti Mandhana and something that's very interesting that's happening with the Australian team. Lots to talk about. Our first segment is called Hawkeye. Right, of all the things that caught my eye this week, you cannot look beyond Shubman Gill. I'm recording this episode at the end of day 2. I've just watched Shubman Gill score a brilliant 269, watched almost every ball of it, and believe me, it was one of the most heartwarming things you will see. There's two ways you can look at that innings by Shubman Gill. One is to look at it through numbers, and they are very significant numbers too. So here we go. The first India captain to hit a double century in England. Then when he got to 222, the highest score by an Indian batter in England, he went past Sunil Gavaskar. At 242, the highest score by an Indian batter in a Sena country, he went past Tendulkar. And at 255, the highest score by an Indian captain in Tests, he went past Virat Kohli. Those are three great names to be part of. He's part of a wonderful little club. But looking far beyond the numbers, and there were many, many more stats that were noteworthy, a couple of things that really stood out for me. There was great class, there was great composure, but more than anything else, there was control and there was patience. At the start of this series, he said, yes, I'm a young captain, but I will not let captaincy burden my batting. I also want to be the highest scorer. There was a great statement of intent there. He started with 147, but what we saw here in Birmingham was extraordinary. We measure control percentage these days. You look at fall shot percentage, 100 minus that is the control percentage. And I'm looking at some of the numbers here, and they are fantastic for me. Control percentage of 95.2%, just 4.8% fall shots. Now, you have to look at it if you break it up on day 1 and day 2. Attack percentage went up from 22% to 41%. Now, when your attack percentage goes up, your control percentage is likely to come down. That did not happen. It only came down from about 3.5% fall shot percentage to 4.8%. And that tells you, even in attack, he was brilliant. Strike rate went up from 52 on day 1 to 90 on day 2. Again, another indicator that he was taking more chances, and yet that control percentage didn't die down at all. It was a fabulous innings. And I love the fact that technically he was superb. I'm not the most qualified to talk about that, but he looked so pleasing. He looked in control. And to think he was coming out of an IPL where you've got to be, it's okay to be a little loose with your technique, was just fantastic. It was wonderful, absolutely wonderful to be here in Edgbaston watching a young Indian captain come of age. I've often said that he likes walking in Virat Kohli's footsteps, doesn't he? Now, Virat Kohli got 300 in his first 4. Shubman Gill has got 2 in his first 3. I'll stop there. Let's watch the progress of Shubman Gill. As I said, it was fantastic watching him. Now, it's pretty much a summer of India in England. The under-19s are doing well. Vaibhav Suryavanshi is on fire here. It doesn't surprise me at all. I think he's a little too good to be playing this stage. But also the women are here. And Smriti Mandhana in that first game was absolutely on fire. I mean, I was talking to Nasser Hussain on our program on Sony, and he was singing praises of Smriti Mandhana. It was a first T20 100. It surprises me that it took so long. It surprised her as well. That's why that little signal after she finished, it won't be her last. There will be many, many more coming. And she joins this very elite group of people who've got 100 in every format they've played. 6 Indians have done it. Oh, by the way, here's a quiz for you. Who are the other 5 Indians to have done this? 100 in T20 internationals, in one-day internationals, and in test match cricket too. I remember talking to Smriti Mandhana during the first WPL. She was struggling a little bit for runs, and all I said to her was, just remember, you are Smriti Mandhana. The bowlers have to be worried about you. And 100 that she made here. Any bowler anywhere in the world would be worried seeing that kind of innings. So much in control. Through the offside, she's always gorgeous. but the onside play has improved enormously. The hitting through the top, the control that she had in that innings, she is absolutely fabulous. And what she's going to do now is she's going to lead that Indian batting lineup, become the star performer maybe, but it's a batting lineup that's looking very, very formidable. Quite apart from Harmanpreet Kaur, Jamima Rodriguez, that's a nice little core. Amanjot Kaur has done well, Harleen Deol has done well. The bowlers are coming through as well, and I was very, very impressed with Sri Charani. Now, there's a lot of left-arm spinners to choose from. First of all, to make it through that grade is fantastic. Then to take as many wickets as she has is very good. There's another lovely little group of young Indian players coming, and Nasir was saying that it's a sleeping giant that's been awakened, and everybody watch out for Indian cricket. It was wonderful to hear, especially at a time when the mega powerhouse of women's cricket, Australia, is just starting to, dare I say, age a little bit. So that was the second thing that caught my eye. The third, Australia won a test match in Barbados. As I'm recording this, they're playing the second test match as well. But once again, the top order struggled. In Barbados, struggled in the second innings. My feeling is that in the immediate short term, Australia are going to be looking for a lot of batters, and I don't think they're coming through the system. But then, that's for another day. That's a whole editorial in itself. Our second segment is Stumped. Since the WTC cycle began, we're going back to the 1st of August 2019, India have gone past 500 only 5 times. 57 test matches in this period, gone past 500 only 5 times. But what I was taken aback by was that only one of those scores has come outside India. Now let's take a look at the tally of 500 plus scores very quickly. Highest of those, 601, that was against South Africa in 2019. It was a very, very average South African side. I'm a great admirer of South African cricket. I've never seen them as poor. So there was a 601 for 5, and then there was a 502 for 7. There's a 571 versus Australia in Ahmedabad, a 574 for 8 versus Sri Lanka in Mohali. This total of 587 is number 2 on that list. Now, since the WTC cycle started, the pitches have not always been conducive to stroke play. There have been some really difficult pitches, so to that extent, you can understand why it's been so few. But I was taken aback to discover that this was the first 500 plus score outside India over 57 tests and 6 years. Let's start this editorial by looking at it from 2 different angles. Trust and perspective. Do you trust Jasprit Bumrah's intent? And do you trust his own assessment of his body? Now, I don't claim to know Jasprit very well. I've had a few conversations with him, but not too many. But there is absolutely nothing that I have seen that suggests to me that he might want to miss games. He's bowled the difficult overs. He's bowled his heart out. I saw him bowl in Australia, and there was nothing left behind when he was going out there and trying to play for India. I saw him in the Border Gavaskar Trophy in 2021, when he wasn't playing, but he was there by the boundary side to help the others. So his intent on India doing well is never in question. Do you trust his own assessment of his body? Now, when I spoke to him on that last day in Sydney, he said he'd spoken to his surgeon, and his surgeon had given him a very, very precise idea of where his body stood. That if there was a recurrence of his back injury, it could be career-threatening, and that for the rest of his career, he would have to manage his workload and manage just how much his back could take. You simply have to trust players. When it comes to someone like Bumrah, you have to trust them. And I think in terms of trust, you just have to go by what he says. There's also the issue of perspective. Do you want Jasprit Bumrah to come hard now and risk losing him for later? Or do you want him to give you 5, 6, 7 years? Now, different people will look at this very differently. My view is, we've got a gem. We've got perhaps the finest fast bowler that India has produced. You want him to play another 5, 6, 7 years, maybe if you're a little greedy, but at least another 5 years. If you want him to play for 5 years, you've got to protect him. You've got to look after him. You've got to look at what you have. If Jasprit Bumrah can only give you 3 test matches, then you've got to say, right, let me celebrate those 3. But if you keep looking at what you do not have, and you say, oh my God, we don't have Jasprit Bumrah, you do 2 things. One is, you become negative in your outlook, but you also tell all the other bowlers, You're only thinking about Bumrah. Who am I? I've played a few test matches. Can't I win you the games? Sometimes when your bowler goes away, when your lead cricketer goes away, everybody gets lifted up. You only have to look back to the Border Gavaskar Trophy of 21. Who was India's best batter? Probably the best ever in Australian conditions. Virat Kohli goes away after the first test. How bad was that? And yet the entire side lifted itself up. Pujara was there, Rahane was there, Rishabh Pant was there, Shubman Gill was there. I think that you've got to empower the other players as well. So my view on this is I will trust Jasprit Bumrah. If Bumrah tells me I can play 3 out of 5, I will say, right, let me enjoy those 3. Let me make the most of those 3. But in the 2 test matches that you're not playing, I will pretend that there is no Jasprit Bumrah. Maybe you can help along. Maybe you can help the other bowlers. But I will not for a moment think of what I do not have. And I will empower the Sirajes, the Akash Deeps, the Arsh Deeps, the Prasid Krishnas and say, right, gentlemen, you go and win me a test match. So it might seem a contrarian view, but I'm in Bumrah's corner on this one. He also featured in our last segment, rock and roll. What happened this week? I'm not going too far back. As I said, I'm recording this at the end of day 2 of the Edgbaston Test match. End of day 2 of the 2022 Test match. A world record was set, a very unlikely world record. Now, Stuart Broad has gone for 36 runs in a T20 international. He comes back here. He goes for 35 runs in 1 over, 29 of which come from the blade of Jasprit Bumrah. There you are. That's what happened this week, another year. Which leaves me with just one other thing to do. I asked you a little question right at the beginning. I hope you've had time to think through that answer. Smriti Mandhana, one of 6 Indians to have scored a century in T20 internationals, in one-day internationals and in Test cricket. Who are the other 5? Shubman Gill, Toast of the Week. KL Rahul's done that. Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma. Just go a little way back to a player I used to enjoy watching, Suresh Raina. There you are. I hope you enjoyed what we had with you. The world this week. There's always something happening in the world of cricket, and I look forward to bringing it to you. Cheers.
Thank you for watching, and do subscribe to this channel.